Good afternoon. Welcome to the fourth installment of Teddy and Max with the facts. I'm your co-host Teddy Schellbach.
Co-host Max Trahan.
And date's February 3rd, 2021. Let's kick it off with some fact or fiction.
All right. First question for you. LeBron James is still the best player in the world.
I mean, this is difficult. It's similar to Brady's situation right now, where I think there are better talents out there, but I think when it comes to what comes with the player and how excellence just happens to travel with that player, it's just like fact. I don't know what else to say.
For sure. He's someone who's, of course, just a great talent and can get any shot he wants for his offense, but at the same time, the leadership aspect of it that you saw in the bubble where a team like the Clippers fell apart, I think mentally he's still on par with anyone in the world. Maybe CP3 is in contention in terms of leadership, but just getting his team ready to play on a nightly basis, I think that's just such a big impact.
Yeah.
Especially in the world we're living in today.
Definitely. All right, the Brooklyn Nets make the NBA Finals.
It's weird because a team has never been so good offensively and so bad defensively, right?
Yeah.
And
Never.
They have three of the best scorers in the league, but when it comes down to being able to defend consistently, I don't know if they're going to be there. I'm going to say yes, just because I think that offense is just absurd.
Yeah. I think basketball these days is a game of rosters, and this roster is probably second to none when it comes from just an offensive standpoint.
Sure.
And defense wins championships, so they can get there, but who knows if they can make it there.
Yeah. I mean, Harden's going to have to step up defensively. Kyrie's someone who's...
I mean, he put some body on Kawhi last night.
I saw that. Kyrie's someone who's not really as gifted and can't really play defense the same way because
he's small.
Size. Yeah, he's small. But someone like KD and Harden are going to have to anchor that defensive end, and that's something that they haven't done in the past, but that's also something that they're going to need to do because to pick up the rest of the team's lack of intensity on the defensive end.
Yeah, hopefully the three offensive superstars that are KD, Kyrie, and James Harden can somewhat take some of the offensive pressure off each other's shoulder and use that athletic talent defensively, where I think every player will learn to grow, all three of those guys. James Harden said it. He wants to be a more team-focused player and isn't really too concerned about his points per game, and now he's leading the league in assists per game. So.
For sure, yeah. The Bulls should move on from Zach LaVine.
I'm shaky here because of his age.
Yeah.
He's not really young. He's not really old.
Yeah.
If he were young, I'd say no. If he were old, I'd say move on.
Yeah.
But I think they have to make a decision this year if they're going to build around him and give him something else, or if they're just going to wipe the slate clean and start over.
Yeah. And
if they can get some draft capital or some other player that they think will be better to build around, then so be it. And I think that's what they should do.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think if they can get something in return that they can't pass up on, for sure. But if not, he's obviously playing at a top 20, top 30 player level. So if you don't get that value in return, you just hold on to him. And I don't think this is his final year in his deal, so they should be set for the future.
All right. Texans are fully committed to Deshaun Watson.
So
they came out this week and said they were.
Yeah. We've also seen
in years just
past,
with the Cardinals saying they're committed to Rosen.
Yeah, or Dave Gettleman committed to OBJ.
Yeah.
I don't really buy that they're fully committed to him. Obviously, they want to be fully committed to him. It's just easier said than done when your best player and your star quarterback wants out, right? And maybe they can accommodate him and get him out of there, but I think they want to be committed, but if the commitment's not mutual, they can't really commit.
I mean, every franchise yearns to find that Deshaun Watson, not Aaron Rodgers, that Patrick Mahomes, draft a guy and have him sit there. And Deshaun Watson doesn't want to be that person for the Texans. And the Texans, I think they're trying to show that they're committed to him and try to make him feel wanted and get him what he needs, despite saying he would be involved in the coaching and general manager position decisions and him absolutely having no
Yeah.
Like, no saying that. David Culley was the passing game coordinator for the Ravens.
Yeah.
And it was a historically bad passing offense.
Yeah.
And I think he's really upset about that.
For sure.
So
I don't blame him.
I don't think the Texans are fully committed. I think similar to Zach Levine, if someone's willing to pay a price, that's too hard to pass up.
For sure.
Texans to sell out.
I agree. Tom Brady is the Patriot way.
Yeah. So Amendola said this week that it's not Bill Belichick, it's not the Patriots, it's not Robert Kraft, it's Tom Brady, and where he goes, there's excellence.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say fiction until either Belichick can prove me wrong. Because this year, the rosters Brady's had in years past were far better than the rosters Cam Newton was given this year. And, I mean, Tom Brady's Tom Brady, and Cam Newton isn't Cam Newton anymore. So I think that really put the Patriots at a disadvantage. And Tom Brady went from what you arguably could be said about the best coach in football to the best roster in football with the top caliber coach.
Yeah. I think it's tough to say that he is or is not, because he's of course a great player and really the go to football right now, right? But at the same time, to your point, the rosters in the past that he had in New England were very talented.
Top 10 defenses year in, year out.
Exactly. And it's harder for an organization to sustain excellence just because the drafting gets, obviously you're picking at 32 instead of top 10, right?
Yeah.
So
doing that for 20 years.
20 years is obviously going to take its toll. I think they were hammered by the cap, at least this year, and really had their hands tied with what talent they could get. So I think Bill Belichick has another year to prove us wrong, right? He obviously went 11-5 with Matt Castle when Brady was out.
Yeah.
But he's definitely a huge part of that, and I would love to see Belichick somehow figure it out on his own, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. So the Knicks should trade Julius Randle. So I asked you earlier this week about Beal as well.
Yeah.
And you didn't want it for draft capital.
No. Yeah.
I don't know. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah. So I just think Julius Randle, he's playing very well for the Knicks, and he's putting up great numbers. But at the same time, the Knicks aren't going anywhere this year, right? Maybe they can sneak into the playoffs, but what does that really get us, right? Like, that'll just lower our draft stock.
A first-round exit?
Yeah. And the Knicks are really a couple more pieces away.
Young
pieces. Transcendent talents. RJ Barrett's playing pretty well right now.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see him get more
They need a veteran
involved.
piece and more young pieces.
And even whatever they can get out of a trade, maybe they can get a first-round pick, but just getting out of Julius Randle, allowing these young players to develop. Unfortunately, a great young player, in my opinion, Kevin Knox, is completely out of the rotation. He could use some minutes from Julius Randle, hopefully get his game back together. Obi Toppin we barely see because Randle's playing close to 40 minutes a game. And I would just love to see what the young guns can do.
Yeah. And when Julius Randle's out there, it's ISO. It's pretty one-dimensional.
Yeah.
And for that Knicks team to grow, I do think he needs to move. I do think he needs to move on.
I agree.
Absolutely right.
Andy Reid is the best offensive mind of all time.
I mean, I think I could put together a pretty good offense if I had Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, Mecole Hardman. Yeah. And the same could be said for Patrick Mahomes. I mean, I don't think I could quarterback an offense to the same caliber, or not even coach to the same caliber as Andy Reid. I mean, that's not coming out of my mouth. It's just, given what he has, and it comes to like all GOAT conversations, when given what someone has, it's like, and what they can do on their own, and it's why MJ's the GOAT, and it's why LeBron's not. Yeah, MJ had Pippen, but like LeBron's always had these big threes, and he hasn't been able to win without him. So, but yeah, I just don't know if I could say that. Certainly a top 5 offensive mind, and I think there have been some great offenses like the Chiefs in years past.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say fact, just because he's done it for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Whether it's Donovan McNabb in Philadelphia, even with Kevin Kolb for a couple years, Michael Vick. He did have great talent towards the end, but when he was playing with Donovan McNabb, they didn't really have too many great receivers or even great running backs. Brian Westbrook was great, but was he really top 5? And besides that 1 year with T.O., obviously the offense exploded that year. But he's just consistently gotten it done. The one thing I would say, though, is that typically in the clutch, he hasn't. and then he proved himself last year. So I think it's definitely something to look out for, and I think he definitely could be in that consideration, if not the best, despite the talent around him.
Very well. Doncic and Porzingis will win a chip as a duo.
So I was talking to you a little bit about this, but I don't know what's going on right now. I don't think Porzingis is playing up to the level that he can play. To be fair, he is coming off an injury, of course. And Luka, he's such a great floor general, but for some reason he's only shooting 28% from three. I don't think that's a mark on him as a shooter. I think he's taking a lot of tough shots. But for some reason this team, I think, is a couple games below 500 when I thought this team could be a top 4 or 5 seed this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to say fiction. I just haven't seen it out of the Mavericks. I like them a lot. I've tried to like them. I've tried to keep them in my top 10. But they just keep giving me reasons not to.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting to see something to prove me otherwise because there's just too many good teams out there that I don't think they can get through.
Yeah, and I put this question as a duo just because I think if they do get a third piece that's on the same level as obviously Doncic or Porzingis, I think that would probably put them over the top. But I think
it's a bonus in there.
Just those two. Just those two as a duo, I don't know if they can get it done.
Mm-hmm. All right. So for some NBA power rankings, pretty similar list to last week. Nets climbed to 2 on my list.
Yeah.
Raptors make an appearance at the bottom. They started off really slow, 1 or 2 and 7, really, and they've been working hard to get back to 500 and get back into at least they're in the play-in right now. If the season ended today, which it doesn't, long season ahead, but I've liked what they've been able to do after a slow start.
I agree. And I think a team like the Celtics is really catching my eye right now. They played a great game against Los Angeles, I think Saturday night. Took care of business on the road against Golden State. Really shut down everyone else but Steph, and you can really do so much against Steph, right?
Yeah.
And someone who's just playing out of his mind this year is Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, he's really shown up. I've been waiting for him to show up. A couple of years ago when you had Avery Bradley, Terry Rozier, young Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and then they got rid of Rozier and Bradley. I've been waiting for. I like those 4 guys. I don't like the Celtics, but I did like those 4 players.
Yeah.
And what the Celtics were able to do with those young guys.
Yeah.
But I've been waiting for Jaylen Brown to play like this for a long time.
And he's really taken his game to that next level, and he is just as good as Jason Tatum is right now. And Jason Tatum is playing top 5, top 10 talent right now.
Yeah.
So I think those two as a duo. I'm a little concerned because Kemba Walker doesn't look great, and he hasn't looked great since his return from his injury. But if he can somehow get it together, that's a team that should be playing in the Eastern Conference Finals for not just this year, but maybe the next 3.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I don't really have any other.
Yeah, no new notes. Kind of still the same. Strong teams are staying strong.
Yeah.
All right. So big blockbuster trade in the NFL this week. Matt Stafford for a 3rd-round pick, 2021, and not this year, but the next 2 first-round picks, and Jared Goff from the Rams.
Yeah.
Max, what are your thoughts?
So I thought the Rams really gave up a lot. I know they had to give up a first-round pick to get rid of Goff. Just that contract was a lot. I just don't know if 2 first-round picks to get Stafford instead of Goff. I mean, clearly they're going all in, and they think that their defense is playing at a championship level, and they just need that one guy. I don't know if you caught the beef between Sean McVay and Jared Goff, but there was a leaked message that was inappropriate about McVay's wife from Goff. So I don't know if that added into the fuel to get rid of him, but he's on the move. I don't know if he's the long-term solution. What do you think in Detroit?
Jared Goff, I'm trying to think of like a comparison. He looks to me like a Case Keenum. Like a bad Drew Brees.
Okay.
A weak arm, can't push the ball down the field, washed up. Like, I don't see Stafford, on the other hand, incredible arm talent. I'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
But I think Jared Goff, I think he's washed.
Yeah.
I think he's been washed ever since the Super Bowl. I think he's got Super Bowl scaries. And like Cam Newton, I don't think he'll ever return.
Yeah, I think he's someone who's going to be a starting quarterback for a little bit longer. And
next 3 or 4 years.
They can't move on from that deal, right? I think he's getting close to $35 a year, which is absurd. But I think he's still a solid quarterback and a capable quarterback if he has the right pieces around him, which we saw in the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, they didn't do well in the Super Bowl, but they still made it to the Super Bowl in a very competitive NFC.
Yeah. So now, Matt Stafford, can he take this Rams team to the promised land?
Honestly, there hasn't been a quarterback more underrated in the past 5 years than Stafford, I'd say. But now, I'd almost say the pendulum has shifted, and he almost is rated higher than he should be. And there is something to be said for how bad his teams were, like the rosters around him. But at the same time, how many winning seasons has he had? 2? Made the playoffs once or twice? I can't think of another time.
No playoff wins.
Yeah, no playoff wins, and I think 11 years as a starter. And maybe the pieces will be right in LA, but
he has weapons.
He has his weapons, and if he can't do it there, then I think that tells you more about Stafford than how bad Detroit was as well.
And I think that Rams team's really good.
Yeah.
Defensively,
sure.
Offensively. I don't know if Whitworth's coming back in the line, but they have receivers.
Yeah.
Akers, young and strong.
Yeah.
I like that Rams team looking forward. Going to be a threat in the playoffs. I'm happy to get Stafford out of the division.
Yeah.
But I'm nervous about seeing him down the road.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
All right, Super Bowl predictions.
Yeah. So, which team's hosting this trophy?
I think the Chiefs ultimately will host this trophy.
Yeah.
I don't. How many games have they lost?
1
in 28.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Something crazy.
And I don't see that stopping anytime soon.
Yeah.
It's like Patrick Mahomes. I don't think anybody's got an answer for him. When he does seem stagnant, he has an ability to break the game. I mean, when you can throw the ball yard the field with Tyreek Hill, your ability to break the game is limitless. You can do it at any snap of the football.
Yeah.
You just got to get lucky.
Definitely.
And I don't see the same with the Bucs, even though they did look like that against the Packers. They did look like they could explode whenever they needed to, and that's ultimately what helped them get over Tom Brady's 3 interceptions. But the Chiefs' defense looks good. So does the Bucs. I mean, they're 2 of the most comparable teams in the NFL until it comes down to the quarterback position. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to get that trophy, and I think he's going to win his second MVP.
Yeah. I think it's hard to bet against the Chiefs just because even if they're down, they're not out. And unfortunately for the Bucs, I just don't think you can keep up offensively with that team. The Bucs are going to need a really strong first quarter, first half overall to really take that momentum into the locker room. But as we saw last year against San Francisco, all it takes is one play. And that team will just jump on you. You cannot make mistakes. Those 3 interceptions that Brady threw against the Packers
will be capitalized on with the Chiefs.
Exactly. And it's really about limiting the amount of time Mahomes has the ball in his hands, because if he has it too much, I don't really think Tampa can really compete, right? And you're going to have to force someone else besides Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce to beat them. And I don't know how you can take away both when you have Mecole Hardman on the outside, along with
Tyreek
Pringle,
Pringle,
and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Damian Williams. Like, the team is explosive with in my opinion, maybe the greatest offensive mind. So,
yeah, too many pieces to stop.
Yeah.
Now, who do you think comes out hot? Do you think?
Yeah. So do you
think the Chiefs figure out the Bucs defense right away? And
as a fan, I want to say the Bucs. Obviously, it's not up to me, but I think that Bucs team can really capitalize on the ground game, really establish themselves.
Yeah.
And then hopefully they can establish enough of a lead to kind of carry them into the late fourth quarter and make it into a clutch moment situation between probably the GOAT and the next
GOAT.
Probably.
Yeah.
But if they can't really get it close, I'm scared to say this could turn into an ugly game quick.
Yeah. And we've seen it happen to the Bucs too. We've seen games get real, real ugly against them, against teams that are a little worse than the Chiefs.
Yeah, for sure.
And as far as late in the game goes, I think early in the game, I don't think the Chiefs come out hot.
Yeah.
I think they'll come out like the Chiefs. I mean, they haven't. Let's remember now, they didn't really blow anyone out of the water this year. They had a lot of really, really tight games.
So Buffalo last week.
Yeah, that nobody really think they would lose, but they were close to losing anyway. Yeah. And I think Brady, with that perceived experience factor,
I think if it's close down the stretch, it's a coin toss, just because you can't bet against Brady.
I think Mahomes, because this is the second Super Bowl and third major championship game, whether it be a conference or the league.
Yeah.
And I think Mahomes is going to be more comfortable in fourth quarter situations than in the first quarter.
Sure. Yeah, no, I think he's proven that all throughout the last year's playoffs when they were down 24 to the Texans and then down 10 against the Titans and down 10 in the fourth against...
Yeah, I think that's more Mahomes than him coming hot in the first quarter.
Okay.
I see Mahomes coming out.
I could see them pulling away late third and then kind of just...
Yeah, definitely a late game breakaway coming from the Chiefs. But I think with Tom Brady, just this being... I mean, this man's almost had a season's worth of Super Bowls. This is second nature to him, just stepping on the field. And I think if any of these Chiefs players aren't ready to play, I think Tom Brady, more than anyone's going to notice that right before the ball snapped. And he's going to take advantage of that before anyone else. And he'll probably make some bad reads, too.
So, I got to ask you, if Tom Brady somehow pulls this off, is it the end of the GOAT discussion? Can Mahomes ever surpass him?
Yeah, I mean, what? Mahomes, he's been around for 3 years as a starter, 4 in total, and he's in his second Super Bowl, and he got lost in the AFC Championship game. His first year as a starter. I don't see it to be impossible. Mahomes making it to 10 Super Bowls. Maybe he doesn't win 6. I think this will tell us a lot about the future of this game.
Yeah.
Last year, watching right here in this room, he didn't look too impressive.
Yeah.
But through 2 picks, he still got the MVP. I thought Damian Williams should win MVP of that game, honestly. But on that note, who do you got winning MVP of the game?
I mean, it's hard to not just bet on Mahomes. I think he's by far the odds-on favorite. I would say, besides Mahomes, if the Chiefs do pull it off, who do you think has the best offensive game?
Travis Kelce. I think that's kind of the easy answer, given that the Bucs are going to double Tyreek Hill because the way he massacred that time.
Yeah.
Or the Bucs could get really tricky and do a bunch of disguises and try to play with Patrick Mahomes' head and have it work.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Todd Bowles, he's a good mind.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing that's going to stop Patrick Mahomes from winning the MVP. But if not Patrick Mahomes, I'd say, Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelce. Or maybe Damian Williams. I'd say Travis Kelce or Damian Williams.
Yeah. I would probably go on the Chiefs. I'd probably agree with those two. Those two are probably good bets. I wouldn't be shocked if someone like Sammy Watkins coming off that injury makes a big impact, but I don't think he'll have a bigger impact than Travis Kelce, who's the best tight end in football right now.
Yeah.
But on the Bucs end, I think if there was someone to make that difference,
I think Chris Godwin for me.
I think Chris Godwin's gonna have to come up clutch. He's gonna have to make those catches. He's had a lot of drops, and I hope that's if he drops an early one, I hope that doesn't ruin his mindset for the rest of the game. But I think someone with this playoff experience hasn't been to a Super Bowl in 10 years, Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
And he was the best wide receiver in football for a 5-year stint. He was out of the league, as we all know, and now he's back. And he has a lot to prove. He wants to show everyone he's still a great receiver.
I think he needs to do it more than just for the Bucs. I think he needs to do it for himself. And I mentioned Chris Godwin probably for similar reasons, that Mike Evans isn't going to be the one to do this. And one of these two receivers, who are both perfectly capable of doing so, are going to have to turn up big.
Yeah, for sure.
They're going to have to get open and help Brady out. And I don't know, Tyrann Mathieu might be sniffing some balls out from under Brady. So
sure.
I don't know. It should be good. And speaking of defensive players, you got defensive player of the game.
Yeah. The Honey Badger has gotten a lot of praise, and I think he's gotten a pick in I don't know how many consecutive, but he's definitely a ball hawk, right? And Brady as we saw last week again or 2 weeks ago in Green Bay, he is capable of throwing these interceptions.
These bad interceptions too.
Yeah. So Tyra can definitely take control and definitely sneak one on Brady. But I'm going to go with the Bucs, and we talked about him a little bit, but Jason Pierre-Paul, and he's someone who hasn't been to a Super Bowl in, I think, around 10 years as well. So he has a lot to prove.
And he had a great week last week. Him and Shaq Barrett were really getting to Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
And about that really quickly, with the Rams game, I thought the Packers were going to be fine.
Yeah.
With that offensive line, they held up well. But that shows how effective Aaron Donald is for that Rams line because they were rendered useless. And then a good defensive line comes in and runs over the Packers' offensive line without blocking the yard. So that Bucs and the no Eric Fisher. No big left tackle problem for the Chiefs, too. Yeah. And Shaq Barrett and JPP's presences were felt by the Packers.
For sure.
And I think Mahomes is a little younger, maybe go back 10 years, and Aaron Rodgers, he can move around and maybe get out of some of these. And Patrick Mahomes will definitely be able to do that at a higher level than Rodgers is today.
Yeah.
But Shaq Barrett and JPP, and I think Shaq Barrett's going to call more of the attention. And I think JPP is going to come hard off the other side in a big game, too. Yeah. That's my pick, too.
For sure. We talked about MVP. We both got Mahomes.
Yeah, and that goes under offensive player of the game, too.
Yeah.
And, one more defensive player that I really like is Levante David.
Yeah.
He's some weird blend of a linebacker. Yeah. He's got a good nose for the football in the air, and he's just always around the ball.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
I wouldn't be surprised if he racked up some crazy, 15, 20 tackles.
Wow, okay. I can see it.
Had some big numbers. He's a big-time player, so big-time moment. All right, so this is Super Bowl prop bets for you.
Yeah.
Tom Brady, over under 300 yards.
I think 300 is a huge number, and I don't really think someone like Brady, we've seen it in the past, though, against my Eagles. He threw 500 yards, and it ultimately came in a loss, and I think he can rack up those yards. I just don't know if 300 plus is realistic for Tom.
And I think the game's going to have to allow him to throw for 300 yards. I think if it's a normal, 28 to 24 game, I don't think he'll get there. But if there's a lot of quick, fast scoring from the Chiefs, I think Tom Brady will have the ball in his hands enough to get 300 yards.
Yeah.
Because that's what happened with the Eagles. The Eagles were scoring, and then the Patriots were scoring. It was a shootout. It was an awesome game. I'm sure you thought it was awesome, too.
It was a great game. First score.
I think the Bucs.
Okay.
Who
won the Bucs? Yeah.
Huh?
Who won the Bucs? If you had to guess.
I think Mike Evans is finally ends in first game, like last week.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with the Chiefs, and I'm gonna say Damian Williams is gonna run it in, and I think it's gonna be in between the 20-yard to 10 to 20-yard, 8-yard run in that range. And I think it's going to be a powerful first drive.
Yeah. I think we're going to go to another lob to Mike Evans.
Yeah. Okay.
That's just from within 10 yards.
Yeah.
Travis Kelce, over under 100 yards.
I think he has to be over. I don't know how they're going to stop him and Tyreek. And last time they were burnt by Tyreek, so it feels like it's time for Travis Kelce to have those 100 yards.
Yeah.
And whenever Mahomes needs a guy, he looks at Kelce, right? And Kelce's always open. And
Mr. Reliable.
It's hard for me to explain how he's always so open, and you just see it week in and week out. I just think he gets around 10 for maybe $110, $120.
Yeah.
But I don't see them being able to hold him under 100, unfortunately.
All right.
Mike Evans over under 85.
I'm going to go under. I actually think Chris Godwin and Antonio Brown are going to have the big game stretching the field. And I think Gronk is also going to have a good game. And I think Mike Evans is going to be more looked at in the red zone.
Yeah. I could see him definitely having one of those, 5 for 75 yards.
Yeah, 5. I got him maybe even 7 catches. 70, 75 yards.
Yeah.
A touchdown.
Yeah, definitely. And that'd be a great game. Yeah.
Yeah, solid game.
Yeah, I think 85 is a big number. All right.
Tyreek Hill, longest play, over under 40 yards.
It's tough because if he does get the ball and it's down the field and he has room to run
in the secondary,
there's no way that he won't go for over 40. But I just don't know if the Bucs are gonna allow him to get any separation. I think he will have one for like 45, maybe 50. So I'm gonna have to go over.
Yeah, I'm gonna go over. I'm just banking on getting something in the secondary
For sure.
It's just like once.
Yeah.
He might be locked up the whole game, but the way he did it to him last time was ridiculous.
For sure. Who will have the most rushing yards?
I want to say. I'm going to say Ronald Jones.
Okay.
There are three great backs. Is Le'Veon Bell playing?
I'm not sure. I know he was questionable.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Shady's going to suit up for Bucs. Yeah.
But, I got to go Ronald Jones. I think Fournette had the big week last week. I mean, he didn't have a big week, Fournette, but he made some really nice plays. Yeah.
I'm going to have to go with Clyde Edwards-Helaire if he suits up. If not, I'll probably go Damian Williams.
Chiefs.
Yeah, the Chiefs. So I just think for some reason the Bucs are really going to crack down on Mahomes, and they're not going to really allow him to beat him. And we saw that a little bit with the Niners last year.
Yeah, look for D. Will out of the backfield, too.
Yeah, for sure. They're both pretty good receiving threats. I would just say I thought Ronald Jones could be a sneaky guy just because we've seen Leonard Fournette get a lot more carries recently, especially in the postseason, where I think he started the last 3 postseason games. But like Ronald Jones is definitely capable of breaking that 50
and he'll get his carries.
Yeah, I think he'll get around 50 to 70 yards in that range, and that might be enough, right?
Yeah.
I don't think any of these running backs are going to go more than 100.
I think, definitely. I think if Le'Veon Bell or Clyde Edwards-Helaire suits up for the Chiefs, and that's 4 really good running backs playing, and I don't really see any of them having a monster game, but I also don't see any of them having a bad game. Like, they'll get their, 4 to 5 yards a carry, every single carry, and be consistently good running backs for their teams. I just don't. I don't see. I think overall in the game, I think Tampa Bay has more on the ground.
Yeah.
In total, but we'll see.
Including Mahomes or no?
Not including Mahomes. We'll call from the running
Taking
backs.
out
Yeah.
Okay, got it. All right, it's a big question. Gatorade bath color.
I gotta go. I'm gonna say yellow this year.
Okay.
I'm feeling the yellow vibes.
Yeah.
I don't know. How about you?
So last year I was burned on the red. I thought it was destined to be red.
I always want to say red.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the red with both teams, it just has to be, right?
And this year too.
Yeah. And I just think for some reason it's got to be orange because I was burned by orange last year.
I'm between yellow and orange too.
Yeah. I just think orange will definitely the Chiefs will whip it out again, and I'm just going to get
absolutely gushing out of that cooler. And money's gushing into your pockets.
Yeah. I just think orange might just be this go-to color right now.
All right. Word. Thanks for watching. This is this week's episode of Teddy and Max The Facts. See you next week.